Hello viewers, in this video I'm going to talk about the carrier concentration inside semiconductors. First I'm going to talk about intrinsic carrier concentration, later I will complete the extrinsic in other video. So in present video I'm going to talk about the number of electrons in conduction band inside an intrinsic semiconductor. Later we'll derive the intrinsic carrier concentration. In order to calculate this, what we have to do is, first of all, we should know how many available states are there for the electron inside the conduction band. And later, if you multiply the states with their corresponding probability of occupancy, we can get the number of actual electrons present over there. Let us suppose that you have a box, a solid, in which some seats are there. Let us say these are the seats for electrons. Just as an example I'm taking, so there may be some seats here. So in these seats, we have to fill the electron. Let us suppose that this is actually representing the conduction band. Assume that this is the conduction band inside the solid, and these are the available states inside. So if you want to count how many electrons are there inside per unit volume, let us suppose that this box is unit volume of the semiconductor, and this is the conduction band. In this, you want to know how many electrons are there. If these dots are representing electrons, you want to count physically how many electrons are over there. If you want to count the number of electrons, first of all, just in a systematic statistical way, how we do this is, first of all, we'll find out the number of seats available. So you can see here 4 seats are there, but there is no guarantee that always 4 seats, 8 seats are there, sorry. We know that there are 8 seats. These 8 seats need not get filled always. So there may be this seat vacant, or there may be here this seat vacant, like this. So if you just try to know the number of seats available inside the conduction band and multiply them with their corresponding probability of occupancy, you get the number of actual electrons present over there inside the conduction band of the given semiconductor. So in this way we will proceed. So I'll write the expression here. So the number of electrons with energy E and E plus dE. So we can take the number of electrons. We can take the number of electrons lying between energy E and E plus dE. So if we just try to calculate that, that number is actually dN. If you suppose that dN number of electrons are existing here, let us suppose that this is energy E and this is energy E plus dA. These are just example sake only. Within this gap, there may be some dN number of electrons. Within this, there may be some seats, right? So there may be dN number of electrons present over there. So that number dN is actually given by the number of electrons existing over there, which is nothing but dN by dE into dE. Please try to understand. Just I have multiplied and divided by dA, and if I just multiply this with their probability of presence f of E, that is going to describe me the number of electrons. You can see clearly dE gone. We are left with just dN and multiplied by the probability. So if dN seats are available, and when you multiply the seat with the corresponding probability, that is going to tell you the actual number. But please recall that this is nothing but Z of E. I'll For the time being I'll call this as E dash. This is the density of states, right? So this density of states is extremely useful, as we have mentioned in the Kronig-Penney model also. This is going to tell us how many electrons are there. I also mentioned that this probability function, Fermi-Dirac distribution function, is also extremely useful in knowing the number of carriers inside any given material, right? So we use those principles here. And why I'm taking this Z of E here as Z of E dash is because of one simple thing. Please recall, while deriving this density of states, we have assumed kx square plus ky square plus kz square is equal to some k square as a sphere. These k's are actually obtained from E is equal to h cross square kx square by 2m. If you can recall, Ex, the energy in x direction, is taken like this. So if you sketch the E versus kx relation, after all, it is going to be, if this is kx and this is going to be the energy, so this is going to be a parabola of this sort. So this is what we have assumed while deriving the density of states in quantum free electron theory. But remember, the energies which we have taken are having lowest energy 0 here. So in a given band, the energy is going to start with E equal to 0 here. That is the lowest possible. But in our case, the energy of electron inside the conduction band is not 0. The lowest energy inside the conduction band, let me sketch it here, I'll later erase it. If you recall the energy band diagram, this is the real atomic spacing. Atomic spacing means in some textbooks you may find A or R. If you are talking in 3 dimensions, you call it as vector R, and if you are talking in 1 dimension, you take the atomic spacing as A, right? So here it is 0. So the energy of the topmost level of a valence band is EV, which is what you call as valence band edge, and the energy of the lowest electron inside the conduction band is what you call as conduction band edge EC, right? Energy keeps on increasing like this. The topmost topmost level of the electron will have different energies there. So the energies will get filled like this, right? So we don't know the top position, but we know at least this is the EV, this is the EC, and in between, in the forbidden gap, this is the forbidden gap. This is EG, energy gap. And for semiconductors, this is of the order of electron volt, 1 electron volt. We have already discussed this in Cronich-Penny model. So this point is what we call as Fermi energy, EF. It actually lies in the midway between the conduction band edge and valence band edge. We are going to derive this later. After we calculate these things, we can know the exact location of this Fermi level, EF. So this is going to be the situation. And hence, what is the problem here is, while deriving this density of states expression, the so-called Z of E, we have assumed that the energy of electron starts from 0. Lowest energy electron is starting from 0 energy, and there it takes a parabolic behavior. But unfortunately here in this conduction band, the lowest energy is not 0, but it is rather EC. So what we have to do is, whatever energies that we are referring, let us say at an arbitrary location in conduction band, this is the E axis. Let us suppose that I am talking about a specific point, and this energy with respect to 0th energy, I'll call it as E. This is the actual energy. So original energy is this. And until this point, this is EC, and here we are actually calling the energy as E dash. I hope you understand this. So whatever E's that we have used, these E's are starting from 0th energy. So conduction band edge is the 0th energy, and from here only we have taken the electrons' energies with respect to this. So whatever E dash we are writing over here is referring to the energy of the electron with respect to conduction band edge. So you can easily conclude here this E dash is going to be, actually it is the difference of these two. So E minus EC, right? So wherever you get E dash, you can safely replace it with E minus EC. This is one way. And if you want to do the total number of electrons inside the entire conduction band, then what you have to do is, actually we took a small differential level. You can actually compare this diagram here. Let me show it with an enlarged view. So what we can do here is, if we take this level as EC, this entire thing is going to be conduction band. And here what we did is, we have calculated the Dn, the number of electrons which are lying within a small energy gap E to E plus dE. So if within E to E plus dE this many electrons are there, then from conduction band edge to till top, let us say there is a top level E top here. So this is the topmost electron energy level that got filled inside the semiconductor. Then what you are supposed to do is, you have to do this addition of dns. So one dn, another dn, another dn, another dn, like that. If you keep on adding all these dns, that is going to give you the total number of electrons n inside the given semiconductor in conduction band. So in order to do that, what we have to do is, we have to simply integrate this expression from lowest energy to the topmost energy, right? I hope the process is clear. Please pause the video. I'll make a further move. Right. So here you have to remember that Z of E dash is nothing but dn by dE. And please recall the expression for Z of E. Z of E is nothing but 1 by 2 pi square into 2m by h cross square whole power 3 by 2 root e. Of course, here I am using e dash, so I'll denote this as e dash. So here this expression is going to be, I'll be calling this entire term as some gamma only to avoid carrying this big expression everywhere. So this is going to be gamma times square root of e. I know that e dash is actually we have derived in the previous shot that e dash is nothing but e minus ec. All the energies are measured with respect to conduction band edge. But this term you can easily recall this is e dash, right? So what is this gamma, you may ask? Gamma is nothing but the multiplicative constant. This bracket term is what you are going to call as gamma. Of course, later after the end of the derivation, I'll be putting back the same gamma. So please keep it aside. Now, please recall that n is going to be integral of this dn from bottom of this to top of this conduction band. So this is both the conduction band only. And you know the bottom of the conduction band lies at energy E equal to EC. And I don't know what is the topmost energy level. So let us say E top. For the time being, I'll call the topmost field energy as E top times dN by dA. I know that this is going to be gamma times E minus EC power 1 by 2 f of E. F of E is the Fermi function, the probability function. You know this is equivalent to 1 by exponential of E minus EF by kBt plus 1. So this was the Fermi function, and multiplicative constant dE is there. So I'll write the dE here. So the integration is going on over variable E. So this is going to be the term. So in order to proceed further, what we are supposed to do is we have to solve for these expressions. We have to minimize these expressions. So what am I going to do is I'll consider only this term, Fermi-Dirac distribution function. So consider only 1 by exponential of E minus EF by kBt plus 1. You consider this at room temperature, let us say 300 Kelvin. Right? What is going to happen? Let us see. You know, from the band diagram, we know that this is EC and this is somewhere EV, and in between somewhere this EF is going to lie, because at absolute zero EF is the topmost filled energy, and you know very well that in semiconductors at absolute zero the topmost filled energy is EV, right? Because no electrons can escape from the valence band to the conduction band. This fact you know very well. So only electrons uh, can be filled up to the valence band edge, and beyond that no electrons will be filled in the conduction band. In intrinsic semiconductor case, you cannot expect any electron to exist over there, right? So if you freeze the sample to absolute zero, definitely the topmost filled electron cannot escape the EV. So definitely it is less than EC, right? So the Fermi energy level will lie definitely in between EC and EV. It may be EV, I don't know, but definitely it is less than EC. That's what we can conclude. So at room temperature, if we consider this E minus EF term, you can clearly see we are talking about the energies in conduction band. We are talking about the E. E is the energy of the electron, and the electron is in conduction band. So this energy is going to be definitely of the order of, I mean, if you take the difference, it is going to be definitely an electron volt order. Why? Because this energy gap between conduction and valence band, we know that in semiconductor it is of the order of 1 electron volt. It may be slightly more or less, but roughly it is 1 electron volt order. So what we can clearly conclude is at room temperature, if you calculate E minus EF by kBt, this term is going to be, this difference is of the order of 1 electron volt numerator. And denominator, it is actually 1.38 into 10 power minus 23, which is the Boltzmann constant, into temperature 300 Kelvin. So you can cancel the orders. I mean, you can just take anyway. So 1 into 3, it is some one order. So this is going to be 10 power 2, and this is going to be 10 power minus 23. Minus 23, 10 power plus 2. So the denominator is going to be 10 power minus 21, right? And coming to electron volt, you know, electron volt is nothing but charge times 1 volt. Charge of the electron is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. So this many joules of energy will be there. So this is joule, and you know, kb is actually joule per Kelvin, and this is Kelvin. So joule gone. So it is a dimensionless quantity, right? You don't have to consider this J. So anyway, if you neglect this 1.6 also, as we are considering only orders, right? So this is going to be 10 power minus 19 by 10 power minus 21, which is of the order of 10 power 2. It means at least it's 100 or 90, something like that. So clearly what you can convince is this e power term that we have only calculated this. So exponent of this 100 is going to be very, very big number, and hence you can simply drop this one, because if you add a 1 to 1 lakh or 10 lakh, or even if you subtract from 1 lakh or 10 lakh the same one, it is not going to vary much. So for mathematical sake, you can simply drop this term as it is pretty small, right? So this implies clearly that it is approximately equal to 1 by exponential of E minus EF by kBt. 1 is gone, which is, so this term, you can clearly conclude that E power this term is much, much greater than 1, right? So please pause the video. I'm going to erase. So finally, this term can be replaced with this. And let me write this. So my N is going to be, and let me give you one more thing. In this expression, if you take e tending to infinity, e tending to infinity means your value exponent of infinity is infinity, 1 by infinity is 0. So as we don't know top of the energy, what is the topmost energy level which is filled, so we can safely extend this e top to infinity. Why? Because you can rely on this expression. This expression, as you increase the energy to larger value, it falls exponentially very quickly, and hence even if you extend the integral to infinity, it is not going to make any harm to the integral, right? As this term is a quickly dying out term, so you can simply extend this to infinity in order to calculate the things. It is only for mathematical simplicity, right? So we extend this, and hence what happens is EC to infinity. Gamma is a constant which comes outside. E minus EC is there, whole power 1 by 2. This is one term. And this term can be written as exponential of E minus EF by kBt with a negative sign, because I have pulled it to the upward, times dE. So this is going to be the integral which needs to be solved. So we can solve this integral by substitution method. So what we can do is, our idea is to just make it look like a gamma function. So for that, what am I going to do is, I'll make some substitution. So substitute, what we have to substitute, let us take E minus EF, E minus CC I will take, E minus EC by kBt as some y. I'll take this y as a variable, some other substitution variable. You may ask, why are you taking like this? Because I want to make it look like some x. So x power n e power something, e power minus x, that is going to be the gamma function. So I want to make it look like gamma function. That's why I'm going to do it like this. As the substitution is made like this, so simply you differentiate this. It is going to be dE divided by kBt. I have differentiated from on both sides. You know, EC is a constant, so you can take constant's derivative as 0. So dE's derivative is dE, and kBt is anyway constant. So dE by kBt is equal to dy. This is the substitution for dE and y. So finally, I can write dE is equal to kBt times y, dy. Right? This is what I'm going to substitute for this expression in place of dE. And one more thing is upper limit. What is the upper limit of this integral? As you know, upper limit is infinity. So in place of e, you substitute infinity. So this is going to be infinity minus EC by kBt is equal to y, which is the upper limit. So this is going to be just infinity, because infinity minus something is infinity, divided by constant is also infinity. So this is plus infinity. And similarly, lower limit, if you calculate, lower limit is, you substitute for E as EC, which is the lower limit. So EC minus EC by kBt, and hence lower limit goes to 0. So now the integral can take a new form. I'm going to erase this portion. The integral can take a new form where you can write n is equal to gamma times integral of 0 to infinity. This term is there and this term is there, along with some dE, etc. Upper limit and lower limit substituted. Now I want to write this E minus EC. As you know, E minus EC by KBT as Y. So I will write it as Y KBT whole power 1 by 2. This is one part. Into exponential of this term is there. I want to write this term to look like E minus EC by KBT. See, this is E minus EF by KBT. I want to make some manipulation. So first I'll write the manipulation, later I'll substitute it back there. So E power, this minus of E minus EF by KBT is there. So I'll write it as E minus EC by KBT. This as one term into e power minus, as I have already written e power minus e by kbt, minus e by kbt is there and plus ef by kbt is there. I have to write that. So plus ef by kbt means I have to write minus ef divided by kbt. As I have added an ec, I have to subtract the same ec. So this is what I am going to do. Please observe, e power minus ec by kbt, fine. E power minus into minus plus ec by kbt. So minus ec by kbt plus ec by kbt. Both are e power m and e power n, right? So you can add e power m plus n. So e power minus e by kbt survives, ec by kbt is gone, and here once again minus into minus plus ef. So it is minus of e minus ef by kbt. E minus ef by kbt. So we are back with the term. So I will write this term here for the integral. So into e power minus e minus ec by kbt into, I am continuing the integral, e power minus ec minus ef by kbt. So I'll erase this now. So this part completes this only. Now the last one needs to be substituted. So in place of dE, I have to write kbt dy into kbt dy. So this is going to be the total integral. And there is an advantage here because kbt power 1 by 2 is a constant which can be safely pulled out of the integral. E power minus ec minus ef by kbt, this is also a constant. Please remember, ef, ec, kbt, etc. all constants. So e power, this constant is another constant which doesn't depend on the integral. And one more thing I forgot to mention, sorry, I have made a mistake here. This e minus ec by kbt, you can see here, e minus ec by kbt is directly y. So you can write in place of this term, directly write this y. Because I have transformed the integral, I must make the change. So this is going to be just y. So e power minus y into this term, with remaining all are constants except this dy. Right? So I'll make further manipulation. I'll erase this portion and I'll write it over there. So that expression, if you write it neatly, it is going to be gamma times, this is a constant, I'll pull it outside, exponential of, I'll write it other way, ef minus ec by kbt. I have taken the negative sign, I have cancelled outside, into, there is one more constant, you can pull it outside, kbt power 1 by 2. So kbt, this thing whole power 1 by 2 is also a constant along with gamma. So into the leftover term is this integral. This integral 0 to infinity y power 1 by 2. And one more thing I forgot here, this is kbt, this kbt. So it becomes actually kbt power 3 by 2. Right? So this constant is gone. E power minus y dy. Remember, this term is a gamma function. Let me write gamma function. So gamma n minus 1 is given by e power, of course, 0 to infinity, e power minus y, sorry, e power minus y into y power n minus 1. This is gamma n, sorry. I'll write gamma n first. So gamma n is defined like this into dy. So gamma n is given by e power minus y into y power n minus 1 into dy. This is the gamma function. So e power minus y is there, upper limit and lower limit are matching. Only thing is, in place of y power n minus 1, we have got 1 by 2. So what we can write this is, we can write it as 3 by 2 minus 1. Right? So this is going to be gamma 3 by 2. So I'm going to erase this portion also. So here, this is gamma n. Therefore, our expression here now it takes gamma 3 by 2. Why? Because in place of y power 1 by 2 is nothing but y power 3 by 2 minus 1. So our n is going to be 3 by 2. So it is gamma n, gamma 3 by 2, right? So gamma 3 by 2 is known now. What is gamma 3 by 2? There is another identity in special functions in beta gamma functions. If you have gamma n plus 1, you can write this as n gamma n. This is one more thing. And if you have gamma half, which is equal to root pi. So these are some standard values from beta functions, right? I don't know whether you have been taught this or not, but please take it as granted. So these things you have to remember. So gamma n plus 1 is equal to n gamma n. As I know it is gamma 3 by 2, I use this expression. As gamma 3 by 2 is obtained 1, I can write this as gamma. In place of 3 by 2, I can write 1 plus 1 by 2, or I'll write 1 by 2 plus 1. N plus 1, gamma n plus 1 is nothing but n gamma n. So if you take n as 1 by 2, this is going to be half into gamma half. I also mentioned that gamma half is actually root pi. So this is nothing but root pi divided by 2. This 2 is not under the square root. Root pi is alone staying inside the square root. So finally, this box integral value is given by root pi by 2. Okay. I'll erase this and finally substitute it here, right? So please pause the video. I'll erase. And let me recall this bracket term as my gamma, right? So after this step, finally, what I can do is I can go for my n. N is nothing but gamma. Gamma is 1 by 2 pi square into 2m. Please remember, I forgot to mention one thing. M is actually mass of the electron, but here we are talking about electron in conduction band. So what I will do is I'll write this M as Me star. Why Me star? It is the effective mass of electron in conduction band. So effective mass of electron in conduction band. Please keep this in mind. So in place of M, I will be writing 2m E star divided by h cross square whole power 3 by 2. This is our gamma into, see, this is another constant, which is kBt power 3 by 2. This is another constant. This is written. Now this term is left and this value is just root pi by 2. I'll write root pi by 2 first and I'll leave the last term, which is the exponent. So exponential of EF minus EC divided by kBt. So this is the final exponent term. Now I'll make some operation to this term to make it look much simpler. See, this is 2 pi square. Okay. And we have a h cross square here. So I can take 1 by h cross square whole power 3 by 2 separately. You have h cross square under power 3 by 2. So can't I write this as 1 by h cross square whole power 3 by 2? And this 2 gets cancelled. It is 1 by h cross cube, right? H cross cube. So 1 by h cross cube means 1 by h by 2 pi whole cube. So this 2 pi goes to the numerator as 8 pi cube divided by h cube, right? So wherever you got 1 by h cross square whole power 3 by 2, there you can safely replace it as 8 pi cube by h cube. Okay, so I can write this. So I am going to erase this top portions. So this 8 pi cube by h cube, I'll substitute it here. And one more manipulation. I have got a 2 pi square here. So n is going to be just 1 by, this is 2 pi square. And we have got in the denominator, not denominator, this entire term I am taking as 8 pi cube by h cube. So 8 pi cube divided by h cube into 2m E star. So I'll make a manipulation. This kBt is there. This is also power 3 by 2. I'll pull everything inside. So kBt whole power 3 by 2, right? And I have got another 2 here. So I can write the 2 in place of this. So it will become 4. And I have got a root pi here. And that root pi I'll write separately into exponential of EF minus EC divided by kBt. See, we have got a pi square and pi cube. cube gone, we are left with pi. And this is 4 and this is 2 times. So in the numerator, what are we left with is 2 pi, this is pi and root pi is there. So 2 pi root pi divided by this h cube I can write as h square whole power 3 by 2 because 2 gone, it is h cube only, right, into 2m e. See, this pi, root pi is there, pi root pi already we have taken. So we can actually do one thing. I'll write it here separately, exponential of this term. I'm not writing once again. So this is the same term which you are writing here into kbt whole power 3 by 2. Please observe this pi root pi is nothing but pi power 3 by 2. So this is pi power 3 by 2. This is h square power 3 by 2. So everything is under the power of 3 by 2. So I can combine all of them. So 2 times of 2 pi m e star kbt divided by h square. Remember, this is h square only, but not h cross square, h square 4 power 3 by 2 into exponential of ef minus ec divided by kbt. So this is the final expression, and in many textbooks they prefer this term as nc, effective number of electrons in conduction band, nc. Right, so this is going to be n is equal to nc into exponential of ef minus ec divided by kbt. So this is the expression for number of electrons inside a conduction band of an intrinsic semiconductor. I'll further derive the expression for holes. Thank you.